Well, thank you. Played some offensive line in your day. What's the key to a good offensive line?
Did play offensive line back in the day, and like EJ and I were just talking about, it's back in the old Big East days. You know, back 04 and 05, I played offensive line. To me, the key to playing offensive line, it all starts with toughness. You got to be a tough player, not just physically, but mentally, because this college football game, playing offensive line at this level, it is a grind. It's a grind in going out there and hitting every day. It's a grind in learning the playbook. It's a grind in the weight room. It's a grind over in the training room there with the meals and pulling back every once in a while, you know, maybe saying one less chicken wing, chicken breast, something. So it's always about the toughness. And then from there, we build into our technique and into our assignment. But everything to me starts with toughness all the time.
Will you be involved much in the game plan also?
Coach Cade and I will work closely with the game plan with each other. We'll consult with each other. Obviously, it's Coach Bell's offense, and whatever he wants to run, we're going to run. And he's had obviously so much success running the ball, throwing the ball around, just in general. So I really look to him as just a great play caller, and I'm going to defer to whatever he wants to do. But I will have some input into it. Yes, sir.
Jeremy, what's the biggest challenge you think this offensive line group has ahead of themselves after the struggles the overall team had last year?
Yeah, I think, you know, just going back and watching last season, I think the biggest thing we got to do is we got to stay healthy. You know, we got to be available. We got to be out there playing. We got to have, you know, a big squad of guys that are available on Saturdays, not just from a starting five standpoint, but from depth. You know, because things will happen, guys will get injured, stuff will happen to people. So we got to have some backups there that can come in there and play a high level of offensive line play. So we got to stay healthy for to be successful, I think.
You worked with Cade for a couple of years now. How would you describe his offense and him as a play caller, game planner, and all that?
The thing that I think makes him so special is his ability to get guys open. Right, he's got so many different ways to manipulate defenses, to get players open, to manipulate big plays. Like, I've never seen anything like it, and I've been around for a little bit, and I've never really seen a guy who's so good at scheming things up and getting players open, not just from a receiver standpoint, but the running backs too. You know, understanding fronts, understanding blitzes, understanding stunts, and how to attack those things. And he's done such a great job in my time with him of doing those things that we need to be successful on offense that I'm so thrilled just to be with him again.
For those returning, this is a whole different style. How do you prepare an offensive line? What do you do differently, or what's unique about preparing them for the type of speed that Cade wants to run?
Conditioning, Coach Stack. Conditioning, right? So we'll have to get them into shape, you know, and they've done a great job just throughout the weight room and out there in practice. We're going at a really high tempo in practice, so they're getting a lot of reps at it. So, you know, they're going to have to be in shape to be able to play in this offense, and I think that's something that'll come pretty quick. And then they're going to have to really learn, because when you play at a high tempo, things happen fast. The play call comes in, and then all of a sudden, bang, that ball snapped. So our guys have got to be on top of the playbook, and they got to understand it like they understand the back of their hands.
Coach, you obviously had experience with Coach Bell, but what drew you to this job specifically? Why did you want to do this one?
I'll tell you the history of line play here. I was at the recruiting event. What was it, signing day? The signing day event. And Jimbo Covert talked to me about offensive line play for like 15 minutes. And it was the coolest thing I've ever been a part of. Like, it was awesome. And that history that we have here, of not just offensive line play, but defensive line play as well. Like, how could that not attract an offensive line coach? It would be impossible. I'd have to not have a pulse to not want to be here. So to me, Pitt is a dream job for any line coach on either side of the ball. And I'm just so thankful to Coach Narduzzi and Coach Bell for bringing me along.
In your early interactions with these guys, your offensive line, who struck you as leader type?
Yeah, it would be unfair of me to single anybody out just yet, because when you play offensive line, you got to hit, you know, and the guys, we haven't hit anybody yet. You know, we've just kind of run around and things like that. So I would reserve answering that question until I see some people hit, because that's such a big part of what we do. You know, like, you can talk all you want, but you got to hit. You know, you got to be able to move somebody off the football. So when spring ball opens up and you and I talk in a month, I'll give you the answer to that question, and we'll have a little better direction on where we're at on that.
Injuries were a big concern for Pitt last year, but with that also was experience that guys got because of that. Now you have a lot of younger guys that are in your room right now that have played D1 football and have tasted battle on the football field. How is that something that you can coach to make that an advantage for your group moving forward?
How can I coach their
I mean, what's the advantages that you've seen from just their experience that you're gaining with this group?
Well, it's less of a learning curve, right? So usually you've got a bunch of freshmen and they're walking around all wide-eyed and scared to talk to anybody and scared to do anything wrong. These guys have been thrown into battle. Like, they're tested already. So they have a little bit more confidence about them. You know, they've got a little bit more technique about them. Obviously, you know, Coach Borbs did a great job developing these guys in the past. You know, they're more ready to play in a football game than your traditional freshmen are. So that's been good for me to be able to see that from our young players.
Much does it help to have your starting tackles back from last year with Bear and Taylor, and how do you envision utilizing them?
Absolutely love those two players. Great human beings. And that's kind of what's important to me. It's not just you're a great player, but you're a great human being. And I think those two are great human beings. Obviously, whenever you've got athletic tackles like they are, it opens up your run game. You know, now your protections are opened up, your outside zones, your counters, you can pull them, you can do all sorts of things with them instead of just running straight ahead like a bulldozer. So it allows us to be a little more multiple in our playbook and multiple in our run game and multiple in our protection. You know, if we need to do something special with them, we can, because one, they're experienced, and two, they're both really athletic, and three, they're great people who want to be great offensive linemen, so they'll learn whatever we ask them to learn.
Kind of building a little bit off of what Jeff asked you a little earlier, but for guys that have come into this offense and guys on offensive line that have adapted to Kate's offense, how have you seen them adapt, you know, and what's the process like from when they start, when like, wait, this is really fast, to where they end up?
Yeah, we ran into it today. It's a great question because, you know, we're about halfway through our install right now, and it starts to pile up, right, in their heads. And you kind of see their heads spinning a little bit, like an old cartoon or something. You can kind of see the hamster in the brain spinning, right? So that's been the thing that in Coach Bell's offense is once we can clear that hump, that initial install hump, the first time they hear it, the first time that they hear what this play is called and what this means to them and how we block this, once you can clear that, and then you can really move on to the technique of it and the details of the play. So that's always been the difficult thing with us, is getting over that initial hump. And I think that's in any offense, you know, unless you're running the simplest offense in the world. I think there's always going to be a hurdle you've got to clear the first time they hear it.
Anything else for Coach? Is it true what I've heard, that offensive linemen are the smartest guys on the roster?
And the best looking, too. If you left that part out. Yes, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, the
No joke.
you have to be, because you have to know so many different things and be able to react.
Yeah, it absolutely, you got to be a smart human being. You've got to be mentally tough. You got to be physically tough. You got to really not have an ego, because as you and I both know, the glory is not in the offensive line play. It's in the receivers and the running backs and those guys. You know, we celebrate their victories, and that gives us the happiness. When one of coach's running backs goes for 70, that's like eating the greatest chicken wing buffet in the world to an offensive lineman. Like, we love it, and that's where we get our jollies from, is success from other people.
What did Jimbo tell you about offensive line?
He loved to tell me some old stories about just toughness and coming off the football. To him, I think that was one thing that he wants to see most, is our guys play physical. You know, and I told him that was something that we were going to bring to the table. We were going to be a physical offensive line. Just because it's tempo doesn't mean it's not going to be tough Pitt football. So, you know, that was one thing that he was excited about, was, you know, us getting off the ball and not playing lateral or in the backfield, anything like that, of us setting the line of scrimmage. I told him that we were going to do our best to get that done.
Coach, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.